The next closest town was a 3-hour drive, and it's 50 minutes dock to dock with the airplane. And you go get to meet, kids your age that you never seen before, right? I'll fly 14-hour day for fire and then literally come home, eat, and go jump in the Cub and just go burn fuel. Smoke just sucks, period. Last year was the worst they've ever seen.
Coming to you from a hangar somewhere near the flight line where there's plenty of sun and fun, this is the Future in Flight podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Starker. And today, buckle up because we're heading way, way north. I'm talking about a place where the road literally ends and the flying begins. A place where bush planes aren't a hobby. They're how you get to school, how you get to town, and how you get home. We're going to Red Lake, Ontario, the furthest northwest you can drive in the province. And from there, everything is floats, skis, and wide open sky. My guest today is Nate Herbert, founder of Black Moose Outposts, a fly-in wilderness operation running 12 camps, 9 aircraft, and a fleet that includes the Havilland Beavers, Cessna Caravans, and a Pilatus PC-6 Porter on floats. Yeah, you heard that right. Nate's going to take us inside what real bush flying looks like. From fire suppression missions at 50 feet over the trees to dropping customers into lakes 200 miles from the nearest soul. We're talking weather, wildlife, water landings, and what it takes to build a career in one of aviation's most demanding environments. This one's got it all. We're cleared. Let's roll. Let's start where it all started, Nate. Give us a picture of what got you into aviation.
Well, that's kind of an interesting one. I live kind of in the mecca for bush flying, float flying, and I would say the world. Since the gold rush in the 30s, Red Lake was number one and number 2 airport, busiest in the world, second to Chicago, which is kind of amazing because everything was either on floats or on skis and off the lake. You just kind of grew up around airplanes, and it was like your wake-up call in the morning was the Norseman either buzzing the house or a beaver or a piston otter. It was something that you just dreaded, but then you just learned to love because it's your sound of home. My dad was a pilot, and growing up, it was kind of a mode of transportation. He would fly us to summer school, different family events or whatever. We had 2 fly-out camps, so that was the only access was by air. But I hated flying, to be honest. I would get sick. I'd have to take gravel just to make it to hockey school. And, I'd be landing and be puking off the floats and having to wash my clothes. And I just really, really hated it. And he used to do loops all the time in the Citabria. And, he loved it. My sister loved it. And I just hated it. But one day I kind of heard a conversation between my parents. I think I was about 15 at the time. And my mom told my dad, because he had an airplane, and she's like, if your son doesn't get his license, we're going to give the airplane to your cousin. Literally that day just clicked. I'm like, no way in hell my cousin's getting this airplane. That be noted, I still haven't got that airplane. So that was just drove me. Headed off to flight school as soon as I could. Got my license when I was 18, so a little bit later than I hoped to get it, I guess you'd say. But it was still, it took me, I think, 2.5 months. I was in and out, got it, and then just started flying. Came home directly and jumped on skis and flew for the winter, and then got my float rating on a 185 the next summer, and it was just something we used. So during high school, we'd fly down to the next closest town. Was a 3-hour drive, and it's 50 minutes dock to dock with the airplane, and you go get to meet kids your age that you never seen before, right? Because living in the bush is kind of really secluded to the people you grew up with is really small. So it was like flying down there to see girls you never met before, or make new friends. And then we used it to hunt and fish and stuff like that. And everything to that to fly into the city, to Winnipeg, so you can land just north on the river and jump in rent a car or borrow a car and rip into the city. And so it was kind of a forced into a way of life, I guess, up north. And then one day it just, clicked. I even did it just because. Now it's every day I love it more and more. I'll fly 14-hour day for fire and then literally come home, eat, and go jump in the Cub and just go burn fuel. Because that's my way to relax, and it's not a job. It's just love, I think.
Definitely. It sounds like it fits on you like a warm suit, which you kind of need because we talk about the bush, we talk about Red Lake, and we've mentioned those names, but we have to give people a picture of where we are. Now, you say Ontario, and immediately we're thinking Toronto, but this is not anywhere near Toronto. Give me a little bit of a geographical picture of where Red Lake is, where the bush is we're talking about.
Yeah, so we are the furthest northwest you can drive in Ontario. So people coming from Toronto, They can drive to Florida faster than they can drive to us, and we're in the same province.
Goodness.
So you're looking at, 2 hour, in a caravan, almost 2 hours, I guess, from Thunder Bay, northwest. And pretty much we're closer to Hudson Bay than anything, but we are still road access. And then everything north of here is either winter roads, ice, or aircraft. So it's the middle of nowhere, but it's ultimate freedom up here, I would say.
It sounds beautiful, and it looks beautiful on the website. You guys do a great job. Talk about the socials that you have put together here in a little bit, but just a wonderful, amazing place it looks like. And you say you use aviation as transportation. That's so foreign to somebody like me who comes from Florida. And aviation is very much a fun. It's a passion down here. It's a pastime. But getting from place to place, we just kind of drive, or we may take a boat as well. But aviation now, do you look as cool pulling up in an airplane when you're in high school to maybe some of the girls or some of the people up there, being as that it's day to day as like down here? I mean, if I'm in high school and I roll up in an aircraft, man, I'm pretty cool.
I think today it's getting way more like that because aviation is insanely expensive now. Like growing up, I'd say every second dock on my lake had an airplane, like private. And then that's whittled down to, I want to say, maybe there's 3 solid private guys on floats now. And it's just more the cost of insurance, aircraft, and maintenance is a big thing. But definitely, it's always kind of a catcher. Like even I still go down to lake parties on Lake of the Woods, and when you show up in an airplane, everybody's like, "What the heck?" and like coming down. And then it also gets super sketchy because you're pulling up to the dock, and especially in a turbine, and shit's spinning, and you're like, okay, maybe I'll do a quick pass. I'll make a lot of noise, and maybe they'll back up. But it's always an eye catcher for sure. It always draws a crowd, and I don't know. It's honestly the safer way to travel, the faster way to travel. It might be a bit more expensive, but I think it's the only way to travel.
It compacts the world. You can just get to these great places and meet great people. And you mentioned coming down onto the dock or onto the beach. Of course, you come in a seaplane. What does everybody do? Well, they want to run as close to you as you can. Never mind that you got props spinning and still a hot aircraft. But so that's a really great picture of kind of the hidden danger, I guess, of the love of aviation for a lot of folks. Now, you grew up in the bush, and flying is kind of a way of life. I imagine hunting and fishing is a way of life as well. Was that something that you did in your childhood?
Yeah, I used to obviously use the aviation. And that's what my dad did for our old career and what he grew up doing. But hunting and fishing is kind of a way of life up here. It's a way to obviously feed your family, but it's also the organics and just the circle of life up here. It's management of wildlife. And it's a huge part of life, and it's a huge part of our culture up here, even though it's threatened right now, but it's a huge part of our culture.
I mean, you think of the bush, and you just think of so much the hunting and the fishing and the rich game. And of course, we look at your social media, by the way. It looks like you're chock-a-block of action and activity up there. I cannot wait to get into some of these great tours. Now, what inspired you into starting Black Moose Outpost? What kind of got you into that adventure?
Black Moose it was just, I got out of a career that I was in and kind of had the opportunity to really sit back and relax, and COVID hit and you couldn't do anything. So I kind of came up sitting down with a friend, and it's like, okay, well, what do we want to do? What is your dream job? And just literally drew it up on paper, and then we decided, okay, let's do it. And yeah, that's kind of been history of that. It was supposed to be 2 camps and 1 airplane. Now we have 12 camps and 9 airplanes. So it's like just crazy.
Bit of an overachiever, are you?
I don't know about that, but
full throttle, heels to the floor, going into something, just doing it, and that really is the way to do it. I mean, 2020 gave us so many different pivots, and boy, are we looking at some really cool things, much like Black Moose Outpost. And now, tell us a little bit about what happens at Black Moose Outpost.
Well, that's the best thing about, I think, our operation is we do everything from the guys that just want to go fishing by themselves to, a high-end trip that, is a private jet coming from Europe. They land here, everything's taken care of, chef, guided, host with them 24/7. But yeah, so the most of our stuff is 90% of it's fishing because that's our big season. So we start in May and run till October. So guys are coming in. It's a week-long fishing trip. Obviously, they can do it shorter, but we fly them out to the bush and drop them off at a location. They have the boats they need, unlimited gas, their bait for the week, their food, and they just go into wilderness, shut off technology and just have an amazing time out there and actually when everything is turned off and you're in the middle of nowhere and there's no one, 50, 60, 100, 200 miles from you. It's just a totally different experience. So sometimes it takes a day or two to get into it, but food never tastes so good. You never slept so well. Everything was just, just perfect. So there's certain people that go in and they want zero contact. They don't want to see an airplane. They don't want to talk to us. That's perfectly fine. We say, okay, we'll see you in 7 days when the airplane comes back. If there's an issue, hit us on the Garmin and we'll come in. But there's, some people want a flight midweek, or they want, an ice top up, or they want to talk to somebody, But yeah, so it's everything from that full we don't touch you to hands-on. You can have everything done for you, pampered. So there's all the options. And our newer places are, fully indoor plumbing to every room has its own air conditioning and heat. And, it's nice enough you bring your wife and your family to. It's not like the old school fly out camp that you're sleeping on who knows what, ate that mattress before you showed up. And yeah, stuff's run on you at night. So that's like something we're not doing. So
this sounds like just a really prime, top-notch adventure. I love the ice top-off midweek. I mean, you can't let the moose heads get warm out there. Give us a little bit of a picture about what flying in the bush is like. It sounds like this is an airspace that's just completely open. What are some of the pros and cons of going on out there?
Yeah, it's definitely freedom. We have a control zone around Red Lake for 5 miles, but once you get out there, you're on your own. So that's a thing that's a little bit difficult teaching the new guys because it's bush flying, right? There's no maps that are really, there's no live weather, there's no radar controlled up there. You don't know what the weather's doing. You have the GFAs and stuff, but they're not exact. You can get a good idea, but you're dealing with smoke and winds and all that kind of stuff up there. So it's totally different. So that's kind of the biggest challenge of the job flying for us, I guess, would be reading and dealing with weather and winds. And then you're dealing with big water on some of the lakes. Yeah, and then the other challenges are getting into the potholes, our portage lakes to pull out animals or to move boats or to motors and cut trails and stuff like that. So there's every aspect of the job, and now we have our amphibs that we're running to the city to pick up customers, or we're dropping right at the airport so they get from the jet right onto the Caravan and they're in the bush. But so I think bush flying is just ultimate freedom, and I don't think there's a better flight. The day is taxiing out as the sun is either still below the horizon or it's just peeking up, and you get to kind of watch that sunrise from the air. And there's like that little bit of fog on the water in the mornings, and I don't know, I probably got 1 million photos on my phone, but I'll still take 100 photos of flight. And just like when it looks good, you don't use them because but you can just go, I don't know, it's just the love of being up there and doing it. So
nobody is painting a better picture of what this area and what this is better than you. I mean, you are such an ambassador for this area already. It sounds like the way to go. And if somebody's listening to this, if we have a young pilot or maybe even somebody who wants like a mid-career pivot, and they hear that it's like bush flying sounds really cool, what are some of the skills that you would tell them to maybe focus on or look forward to? What are some of the things that they should come into bush flying with?
That's kind of a difficult one. We'd go through a ton of resumes and a lot of applicants for the job, but the biggest thing for us, I think, is a hard work aspect of if you did bush firefighting or welding or farm work or something that's really hands-on work. The flying side, I think you can teach the flying to anyone. Obviously, the more hours and definitely float hours will get you through the door. But for me, is if you bust your butt at work and can do it all, then we're going to teach you the flying. And everybody is teachable, I think. It just takes more time, and you just kind of got to beat the bad habits out of them. Some of them for sure.
It's spoken like a true trainer.
Yeah.
So you mentioned some of the hazards about the weather. Give us a little bit of the weather hazard picture up there. I mean, we see, of course, being even down in Florida or at Oshkosh last year. Heck, the Canadian wildfires were affecting the air venture down there. So I know that you have these big bush fires. Talk a little bit about what bush flying weather is.
Yeah, so smoke just sucks, period. I think last year when I talked to a bunch of the old timers that have been flying here definitely before I was alive, and they said last year was the worst they've ever seen. It wasn't a week or 2 or 3 days of just socked in. It was months of it. So smoke is a challenge. Windy's got a really good smoke detector now, and it'll really kind of tell you what the smoke's going to do. So when you have the thick bands, but you're getting I don't make my guys push through it. So it's all in their comfort zone. We try to teach them to play on the safe side. And I have a pilot that works underneath me that flies on the safe side. So I really appreciate that because she's kind of that watches over the pilots when I'm not around. But smoke definitely sucks. But smoke is something you can push. You cannot push cloud or you cannot push fog because that will kill you. And we have a lot of low weather, and there's certain lines as you fly north and you know where it gets hung up. But then the older guys and guys that have been doing it for a while, we know the route to take and we know where to sit, where it's going to clear first. So you'll follow a certain chain of water if you got to get on a river or chain of lakes and fly those lakes. But 10 minutes in shitty weather sucks. But when you got to go and do an hour of the same weather the whole way, it really sucks. And so that's the biggest thing is trying to teach that stuff to guys. But I'll fly through stuff that I definitely probably shouldn't be flying through. But if I ever catch one of my pilots doing it, no. So there's no excuse for safety in our operation, and that's the same thing with our airplanes. Why we make sure that they're top notch, because that's the only thing that I don't want. Everything else, somebody's holiday can wait. We're not going to die for that holiday.
Yeah, safety margins and aviation are just really rigid. And the margin of error is so small. You put that in a remote area, and I can only imagine the stress factor must go a little bit higher with that. Now, you talk about your airplanes. Talk about this fleet. We heard you mention the Caravan. Tell us a little bit about what y'all are using up there.
Well, we got everything from one commercial 185 with a boat STC. We have a second private 185. 2 Beavers with both still piston, still fully original. One has a stole kit, one without. One with big floats, one without. So it's kind of nice, those little variations. One is the military surplus, so the mixture and throttle is reversed, or prop and throttle. Sorry, I can't remember which one until I get in it and feel it. So that makes it a little bit tricky when you're jumping between machines. And then we have a Blackhawk Caravan on 8750, which we got 3 years ago, maybe. And that thing has been amazing for us. So we went and got into a second EX last year, and we put the Yukon prop on it. It's also sitting on 8750s, and that thing has also been a complete monster for us. And that was, I think it was 110 days on fire contract last year. So it was flying lots. But then we get down, we have a PC-6 on 6100s, which is kind of just my dream airplane and kind of what really pushed me into the camp stuff, or this business, I guess you'd say, because it was kind of on my list of dreams and what I wanted to do, and it was fly this airplane into these kind of locations and go from there. So that's our fleet.
Man, you talk about some heavy hitters in there. I mean, a Havilland Beaver on floats is kind of that'll go anywhere. A PC-6 on floats, it really will go anywhere in the world. I mean, it's just an incredible machine. It's got to be an incredible flying experience up there. Tell us a little bit about the difference, obviously, from the Caravan to the Beaver, and then on down to the PC-6.
Well, the Beaver's just, I think, an amazing flying airplane. It was I don't know who engineered that or what napkin they drew it up on, but that thing is just a monster. And that's also the dangerous part of a Beaver is it flies so good and so nice that you'll let your guard down, and that thing will, you start getting slow, you getting heavy, hot days, and it'll kill you for sure. As long as you respect that airplane, it'll get you in and out of anything. That thing will fly with ice. That thing will fly into the tiniest pothole. As long as you're not abusing the weight of it, it'll get you anywhere and get you home. Radial's always, it's spinning the roulette wheel every time you're out there. So, there's always a chance. But if you take care of her, she'll take care of you. So,
thrifty on oil too, Radials.
Yeah, it's always a joke. It's like, I love flying an airplane. You can fill it up when you're actually flying. It's like, yeah, I'm not opening that cap, but you can. So, but then you jump into a Caravan. I think it's the first bush plane that's actually engineered with what AutoCAD or whatever they would use to design it, an airplane. So that thing is an amazing machine. It's fast. You take double load of a Beaver and you're cruising at 170 knots with that Blackhawk engine, and it just gets the job done. You're going to struggle getting into those small lakes, but if you're running, like those guys that run the Garretts that are running 1,000 horse, they can get off pretty good. And the same thing with the Blackhawk, you can get off pretty good. We have the option with the 8750s. We can go to the airport. We can go to Winnipeg, pick up our customers. It's a full IFR machine. So if you're ever having to fly an emergency, and you have to go IFR if you're certified, you can, call in, punch in the approach to Red Lake or to one of the reserves up north and actually, shoot an approach to get out of the weather if something actually does happen. So having that technology is life-saving, I would say, and very handy. But the Caravan is cheaper to run than a Beaver. Dollars for cents between maintenance, fuel costs, how much you can rip, how fast you can fly. So it's a game changer. And then for our EX, and I was kind of looking for something that had similar performance. It gave us the option that we can fly 16-foot lumber, which is nice. We have single seating in it, so it really gives our customers lots of room. For the higher end guys, don't want to be crunched in there and sitting like sardines. Same style like the Beaver, you put 3 guys in the back and the middle guys running the doors because he's the only way to get it. So we threw that new Yukon prop that we got from Whip on top of that thing, and it'll get into smaller places in that baby Caravan with that big engine. It is unreal. There's, a few upgrades they could probably do to it, and I could give them some tips on what I think. But that thing it's going to change Caravans going into the future for sure, because it's getting them into smaller places. Your takeoff performance is amazing. It's lighter. I'm not even a salesperson for any of this stuff, but that was a game changer for us. And it was a big bite to buy it, but it's like, if it makes our airplane that much more capable, it's totally worth it to me. And then I guess we get into the PC-6, which is just the love of my life for an airplane. Either you hate it or you love it. Some say it looks like the box it showed up in, and for sure it does. The lines of I don't even know what, but it's like a Cub on steroids is what I say. And same thing, like if you're flying it on wheels or skis, it doesn't matter what you put in that thing, it's gonna fly. You start getting on floats and you get up to that max gross weight. It struggles to get on steps sometimes, but as soon as it's moving, it flies. And you can drop that thing into, 150 to 200 foot gap in the lake that you need to get into out of the wind, and it'll just sit down and stop right there. It's completely insane. It is by far the most capable airplane I've flown in the bush by far. People say, it's a turbo Beaver can come up to it. Not a chance. Like, yeah, you might get the same kind of stall or takeoff performance, but when you start going low speed or flying through technical areas, and if it's in mountains, if it's in river canyon stuff, with that control surface on the PC-6, you can't touch it. It is so responsive. You can snap that airplane over like there's no tomorrow. It's insane. It's like jumping in, I'd say, a 172 and then jumping into an edge, and just that snappiness,
Jeez.
It's just there.
That's a little different.
So it's insane machine. That's like I say. It's expensive as hell to keep it airborne. That's just a typical, if anybody knows Pilatus, they just give it to you. But you pay for what it is, I guess. So.
There's nothing. There's when we talk backcountry, man, obviously de Havilland Beavers got to. Like Pilatus, it's like Pilatus and everybody else. So, all right, yeah, you pay for it, but you also get it too, which is great. I mean, Pilatus has such a top-notch name in getting in and out of short field.
When your mission takes you beyond the runway, reliability matters. For more than 60 years, Whip Air has been helping pilots turn lakes, rivers, and coastlines into runways, building industry-leading whipline floats trusted around the world. From backcountry adventures to commercial operations, whipline floats are engineered for performance, safety, and durability, so you can focus on the mission ahead. Explore the freedom of amphibious aviation at whipair.com and discover where your next runway could be. Whip Air, innovation on the water, confidence in the air.
Now, tell us a little bit of maybe a fact, something that people don't realize about floatplane operations.
Well, that's a tricky one. They don't realize.
It looks really romantic, and you kind of see throttles go forward, and we're up off the lake. But I know there's a lot more to it.
I think it's a lot like if you're a Cub pilot that's landing in these mountainous areas and these unapproved strips, but everything is different. There's stuff floating in the water, there's hidden rocks underneath, or there's water flow. So if you're in a river and it changes from the beginning of the season to the end of the season to the mid-season, right? From water levels to storms to, stuff floating around to winds. That would be the biggest challenge, but it's the wheel guys, you're going to approved runway, that's the same thing all the time. You know the distance you have, you know your aircraft performance, but out here and flying floats, it changes all the time. It's never, not one is ever the same as the other. I would say for any takeoff, any landing, they're always a little bit different.
That's a brilliant fact right there. And that's the thing is amphib drivers make it look so easy. Amphibious operation, it looks so easy. It's not. The water is different. It's completely, and it's unknown sometimes. I mean, flying into a lake that I don't know occasionally is they're great.
There's that, and you get into lakes that aren't clear. So you're literally rolling the dice sometimes, and that's a thing that we don't allow my guys to do or my team to do, but it's something we have to do when flying fire. We do a lot of fire support flying, and the northern communities up there is, so you have to follow the trenches of the water, where the water is flowing, and you know it's going to dig a trench. Because obviously, if it's dark water, if it's muddy, then it's a mud bottom, and there's rocks here and there, but mostly it's going to cause a trench. And then you start adding smoke to that, you know, half-mile viz and crap you're trying to land in with smoke, and the challenge is insane. I think that's probably why I love the fire flying stuff so much. That's just challenging love. And you know, you're dealing with landing and having to pull up to an Aboriginals camp that is either a pallet tied to a rock as their dock, or it's a rock, and you know, you're holding this $5 million airplane with $1 million set of floats against a rock while the firefighters are jumping off and setting up, you know, suppression systems. And it's nerve-wracking, and you're like sweating for your 12 hours, 14 hours out that day, because you're just like, your mind is just going most of the time. And when things get crazy, it gets crazy. But it's having the right equipment and trusting it to do the job. And sometimes you have to sacrifice if you're obviously, you scratch your float or whatever, but you try to do it smartly and get the job done, because you're saving values and you're saving people's lives sometimes.
That's an amazing trade-off. Really, it says a lot about the character of who you are and the kind of operation that you run, that you're also involved in, that sort of thing. I mean, tell us a little bit about a typical day of fire operations. What does that look like? A fire happens, and then what's that response?
It could be anything. So we do everything from evacuation to gear supplies to, so last year there was a fire that started, I don't know, it was early in the season. And we were kind of the initial attack, so we brought the initial firefighters in, because at that point of the season there was no water bombers available. There was very limited crews. Helis were short, so I think there was maybe 2 helis flying, and we just nonstop just flew airplane loads full of the firefighters, hose pumps, and they're set up on a northern community, so they had to sprinkler the whole town, and that literally burnt to the edge of the sprinkler line. So getting this team there to save that community is huge. And it goes to everything to mapping the fires. So it's literally flying 50, 100 feet off the trees. Literally, you're sweating from the heat of the flames coming through the windshield as you're like flying and banking. So you have to get as tight as you can to the fire to actually get a tight GPS line so they can size it and have the activity. So they're doing reports the whole way around. And I've never had so many people puke in an airplane since this past year. And I feel bad for them, because sitting up front, me and the head for the fire guys, we can actually see out pretty good, but the ones in the back, they're just back and forth, and it's just smoke. They can't see nothing. Every once in a while, they'll see flames out the window, and then it's just nothing. So it's like, I don't blame them for puking.
Well, it sounds like puking in aviation just kind of is a theme in your life, man. I don't think you're going to get away from that. Do you carry, do you have branded bags, or do you have bags at all? Like, that's...
Not branded, but we got bags, 6 sacks.
Goodness, man. Now I know what I'm going to get you. Some customized bags here. That just sounds incredibly adventurous. And I'll bless you for doing it, and for the crews for doing that, because that's life or death. That's taking, aviation we talk about as a passion. You have love for it. But, man, that's life or death right there. So real credit to you doing it.
I got to go all the way up to like Hudson Bay last year, and getting into a different aspect of terrain and lakes, and it's just adventuring for me also, even though we're up there to save communities or cabins or traditional hunting camps. But it's getting paid to adventure, go and land on new lakes and see new places. And even though it's still within a small geographical area, it's still new. It's still, and you wouldn't believe how much it changes from here to there, and it's only 200-300 miles, and it's just, yeah, I could just do it every day. Is kind of the big thing, I guess I'd say.
We've gone from what we'd consider a bad day. Give us like one of your best days. What's a memorable day flying up there for you?
I don't know. Probably those are the more memorable days, but flying our customers is also great. Obviously, you're going to deal with some people that are either don't like flying or just always have a chip on their shoulder, even though they come out of the bush and they rebook the day they come out to come next year. And it's like, well, you were just grumpy. Why are you booking again? But they're just happy. It's just those people. But I love, when you can give somebody either their first float plane flight or their ride in and give the young guy the yoke or the stick to fly the airplane a little bit on the ride in. And that's sometimes the highlight of their trip. And I'm becoming friends with a lot of our customers. And those are the kind of customers I want. Guys that I can connect with and really enjoy their passion, because a lot of them have been coming up in this area longer than I've ever done it. So they're a lot older than me, and there's up to 6 generations of people that come. And it's like, you're flying guys in their high 90s into the bush, and you're like, and it's insane, and they love it. So just sharing that passion with them and flying them and how excited they are to get in the airplane and go to their dream destination is probably the more exciting thing. And then even letting that 70-year-old guy flies, flip the controls over in the Beaver. And then you go back and look, as soon as they get home, that's their Facebook profile picture, as them holding onto the yoke. Like, they're just so pumped. And just being able to share my passion with somebody else, and even though it costs me nothing to do but my time, it's like, it's so worth it to me. And those are the big ones. So I love flying the groups that I really get along with, and I'll even make the point that I'll take the flights away from my pilots and either skip what I'm doing that day just to come fly those groups, because it's just like, these are the guys, these are my people. So
the boss still getting his hands dirty. I love that, and getting in the operation. So absolutely wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about the future of what aviation might look like, what the future of bush flying might look like. Is there a future for bush flying? So is this something that's going to be continued into the future that you see?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go away. That's for sure. AI can't take over bush flying. I can tell you that for sure. There's no autopilot. There's no auto landing. It's any career in aviation. I think it's probably the most secure besides maintenance, because it's a matter of time, I think, now before you have one pilot on these airliners and the rest is just AI flying it. And there's one guy sitting there. It's just something goes wrong, he takes over. AI doesn't have a bad day. They don't feel sick. They're not having issues. So that's one thing. But I think there's a huge, market or future in bush flying for sure. The northern communities aren't getting smaller up here. They aren't getting bigger, and it's going to take them years to have road access, and they're always going to need, flying or to their culture camps. And as I think Canada grows or North America grows, even though I think we're probably already too big, it's just going to expand into the non-populated areas that you're going to need, bush aviation, or everybody's going to want a holiday, or, island hopping down in the Bahamas or Tahiti or wherever. I think there's always going to be a market for bush flying. And if they don't need it, I think it'll be an adventure thing. It's not going to be, it's actually an adventure. It's not getting on an airline and sitting on a bus and going somewhere. It's adventure.
That's such a great way. I mean, you're running dream machines up there. The whole thing you're putting together is an absolute dream. Let's kind of pivot and say, for somebody who's heard this dream, they've got these great pictures in their mind. They want to see some pictures. Where can they go see that? Tell us a little bit about your social media channels and what you have over there.
Well, Black Moose has I think a pretty good page. We don't post a lot, but I think every 4 days we have something coming out. So that's Black Moose Outposts, I think. Our website also links to our social media. Our Facebook is probably going to get stepped up. My personal Instagram page is just Nate Herbert. I don't post that often because I'm not good at technology or social media or taking a quality photo, even though I take a lot of photos. So I'm working on it.
It's a little busy over here.
Yeah.
The website is absolutely
but for me
great. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have a good guy that takes those photos and runs our company stuff. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's just has a really good eye, and he has it figured out. It's his passion. Aviation is his passion. Also, he's actually the guy that designed the paint on the PC-6. He does all of our logos and clothing, and all of our future airplane designs come from him. So he's just really invested into the group. So it's, we're trying to keep the team really close to heart, I guess you'd say, and the core from the beginning.
that it shows that everything you do seems like it's a real community and team driven effort. You can get that on the website from the smiles, the people that are out there, and some of these fish, man, these things look absolutely beautiful. If I'm coming up, what am I catching?
Yeah, so I guess everything from northern. We have a tiger muskie cross, one of our lakes, trout, lake trout. Walleye is probably the big one. Walleye northern are the two biggest ones. You can get everything down from bass to perch, but for me, I'm not massive into fishing, but I just go and catch what I eat, and that's it. But we have guys that come and fish 12, 14 hours a day or 10 hours a day, and they're catching hundreds of walleye a day, and they're just sitting there with those clickers just going through. So they just invest the time, and they love it. And we have lakes that are insane for that. But yeah, so everything from massive 50-inch pike to tiny perch, whatever you want, we kind of got.
And hunting too, just a really complete outfit. If somebody hears this and they've seen the website and they're just like, man, this is it, how should they reach out? How should they contact you? Is there a contact option on the website?
Yeah, there's an inquiry. Even if it's, you can even do it kind of through a social media, but it kind of will get directed to the website, the guys. But the best is jump on the website. It's even for pilots that are applying or interested in a job, or starting off as a dock hand, so they can kind of get a feel for it. Yeah, just definitely through the website is the way to get a hold of us. And if you want to book a trip, you can even request on what airplane you want to fly in. If you want a little bit of a flying experience, we can do that on top. So if you want to grab the controls or just do some scenic flying while you're here. If you're an aviation buff, we've already had guys that come in that are aviation tourists, almost just up here to experience a flight in a Beaver or the PC-6 or see that kind of things. Hunting is my passion, and it's amazing. I think we had a really good year last year, and we're looking forward to a good 26 also.
And is that primarily moose, or what are you hunting up there?
Yeah, so moose is our main. We do add-on bear and wolf tags, but everything we target is moose. The issue with the bear, you have to bait pretty much. Bears in kind of area. I don't know if it's a little bit different in Alaska. I think they do some stock hunting, but for us to fly every 3 days to bait a bear, it's going to cost that customer, a lot. Because every time we send an airplane, to where our bear management units are, it's $2,500 or $2,000 or $900 if you send a 185 up there. So it gets expensive real quick. So we can't really feasibly sell a bear hunt and actually make money doing it. So we do an add-on tag. Odds are you're going to see a bear on your moose hunt. It's just the way it is, because they're kind of they're roaming that time of year to get fat for winter. So they're on the move and they're eating. So they'll come to the moose call. Same thing with the wolves. If you're a good caller, they'll come to a moose call and all that. But moose is our primary hunting.
I'm telling you, you've sold it already. Future in flight trip to Black Moose Outposts. That's it. We're sold on it. You guys are going to see that coming up soon. I can't wait. This is beautiful. I've seen the website. I was already excited to talk to you. And then I talked to you, Nate, and you didn't do anything to put the fire out of my excitement for this. So I'm going to be hot smoking up there pretty shortly. This is really, really awesome. Now, we've done a lot of hard work. We mentioned the Porter. That's got a great useful load. We've done a lot of heavy lifting ourselves. I think we've gotten all of the heavy work done. How about a couple of fun questions? You got a couple minutes for those?
Yeah, give her.
Now we're talking. All right, so I get a little hungry when I'm flying. I get a little hungry when I'm doing interviews. I'm just kind of a hungry guy, so I'm always thinking about food. Definitely up in an aircraft. Occasionally I have an in-flight snack. One of my favorites is definitely a beef jerky. What about yours? If we're having an in-flight snack, what's your choice?
I would say people kind of laugh at me what I pack. But it's just what it is. I do those small cans of tuna. Actually, applesauce from Costco, because you never crush your apple in the airplane. And then for beef jerky, I do the Icon elk jerky and bison jerky. Insane good. It's actually, it's a ranch-owned American product, so it's quality, and those are my go-tos for sure. And obviously a Red Bull.
Look at you. I love that. Now, if you could fly anything that's ever existed, what would you get behind the controls of?
Well, it's a tough one, because my dream kind of bush plane is obviously the PC-6, and that's what I'm flying. But I would love to, honestly, either, I don't know if it'd be a Corsair, like an F-16, something a little bit different. I've got time in the Alpha Jets, but an F-16 and the Corsairs is something that's really appealing to me. So it was always a goal to fly that thing, but I think it's kind of, living in Canada, it's not going to give me the time to do the studying and the ground school to do it safely and actually do it the way I want to do it.
Now, if you could fly with anybody throughout history, who would you take? Who would you throw on that that seat with you in the F-16? We got 2. It's a trainer.
I would. I don't know. That's a tough question for sure. I would probably any crazy opportunity like that. I would take my dad, because I know that would be also his dream, and he's the one that kind of really got me into aviation. So I think he's the guy that I would want to give everything back to if I could, because he's the one that lit the fire inside me to do it, and I think he deserves, if I got any opportunity, that I would try to share with him for sure.
Right on. Love it. Absolutely love it. Just a bunch of great answers. Last one. We're going to grease this thing. We're coming in hot. Where would you go? You get 2 weeks off. I know you're an adventurous guy. You just got back from Namibia. You go to these great places and do your adventure. Where would you go if you had to say 2 weeks off and a ticket, or the F-16? Take it wherever you want. Go.
That's also another tough question. Like I just got back from Africa, and I never had a desire to go to Africa as a kid or anything, but I had the opportunity because actually a customer from Black Moose owns a lodge over there, and that's kind of how I got connected and got to do a bunch of flying when I was there, so it was great. But if I could go anywhere, I think I would love to explore Iceland if I was doing fly inside, like with a Cub or something like that, or PC-6. I saw a little bit of skits on that, and I think that would be a beautiful place to fly, obviously in the warmer season. That's what I would say. I think Iceland to check out.
That's a great picture, man. Your answers are every bit as colorful as the area around you, the Red Lake, the Red Bull, I mean the Black Moose. Just everything has been wonderfully colorful today. I really thank you for the honest, good answers, for getting down and getting a little bit gritty with some of these answers. And man, we have had a really great conversation with you today, Nate. It's just been awesome. Thanks for joining us on the Future in Flight podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It was definitely my pleasure, and I'm always there to share my passion and dream, and reach out if anybody has questions, or hit me up on Instagram. I'll definitely answer what I can, and if you're ever in the area and want a tour, reach out. We'll hook that up.
Man, what a conversation. Nate Herbert and the whole Black Moose Outposts operation. That's the real deal. Bush planes, wilderness camps, fire missions, and a guy who turned a napkin sketch during COVID into 12 camps and 9 airplanes. If that doesn't light a fire under you to chase what you love in aviation, I don't know what will. If you want to check out Black Moose Outposts, and trust me, you do, head over to blackmooseoutposts.com. You can book a trip, browse the fleet, or even apply for a job if you're a pilot or a dockhand looking for the adventure of a lifetime. And follow Nate on Instagram. He's at Nate Herbert for some incredible shots from the bush. Now, a big thank you to our friends at WhipAir. WhipAir has been an incredible supporter of this show and a huge part of building the Future in Flight podcast. If you're heading to Sun and Fun this year, do me a favor. Stop by the WhipAir booth and say hello to the team. Tell them the Future in Flight podcast sent you. They're great people and they'd love to meet you. And before we close up shop, if you're enjoying the show, take 10 seconds to subscribe wherever you're listening. And if you've got a minute, leave us a review. Those reviews make a huge difference in helping other aviation enthusiasts find us. As always, thank you for joining us today. We'll see you out there and up there.